Whether you love wrestling or know absolutely nothing about it, the Iron Claw is for you. Need me to convince you? I have 2 reasons. Number 1, Zac Efron. Number 2, Jeremy Allen White. You might think you've just named 2 actors of the film, and yes, I have, but your reason for picking this film based on those 2 reasons tells me everything I need to know, because if you're a number 1 person, it means you like hot muscular men doing hot muscular man things. Valid. And if you picked number 2, I immediately know that you like to watch things that have complicated, messy, and devastating family relationships and dynamics, and don't mind watching something that might leave you with a hint of depression. The Iron Claw, for those unaware, follows the true story of the Von Erich family, who were a famous wrestling family. All of the sons were professional wrestlers, as well as the father. They were a family who was said to carry a curse after a series of truly tragic events that occurred throughout their lives. I don't want to spoil anything about this story for you, because there's no better way to experience it, I think, in full beyond a few tidbits than watching this film. Please do go into this film prepared, knowing it is an emotional one. It's not just this kind of hard-hitting drama about wrestling. This is a true story about real people, and the emotions in this film truly have been translated on screen in a acutely painful way. So please be prepared for that. You get to witness each of the Van Erich brothers, kind of the spirit of them when the beginning of the film and where they are left by the end of the film. Another great aspect of this film is not only do you get their family dynamic explained to you over the course of the film, but you get a little bit of wrestling knowledge, which for me was a really fun tidbit, especially when it happens in a conversation between Zac Efron and Lily James, who really is falling into her own as this like unique little like special typecast of the girl next door who's so stunningly beautiful, but also at the same time becomes this strong, supportive wife. She plays it in such an impeccable way here. So that is also another reason to see the film, if the first 2 weren't enough. But at its core, this film is a story about family, and more specifically siblings. This film really does attach itself to the thesis of siblings being such a unique family dynamic. You are 2 people or a group of people who are raised in the same household, likely under very similar environments. And as you grow, you become wildly different people. But in the case of this film, you see where trying to keep people similar when they may be different, or being forced to focus on things beyond just their bonds and their relationships, ends up fracturing those relationships, fracturing and causing distance. And how painful that is as an older sibling, specifically in the case of Zac Efron's character, watching a person in your life, a sibling perhaps, who may have been younger, kind of someone you could look out for, protect as a child or a young person, but as you kind of separate and go on your own paths in life, how painful it is to watch your sibling kind of go into places where you can't protect them, that you can't help them in life, and how crippling that is. And that's another reason why this is such an emotional watch that left me speechless at so many turns of the story, just because of the way that simple lines are delivered. I really want to commend the writing in this film, because it doesn't focus on being flashy, getting great lines. I don't know how many lines are like from interviews or like specifically pulled from the presses, if you will, but this film is able to tell a really linear story without it feeling boring, again, without it feeling like a cradle to grave biopic. And I think one of the ways that it does that is a lot of foreshadowing and kind of the understanding of a Schrodinger gun type situation in various events of this family's life. There are a lot of things that you kind of feel like maybe this story isn't going anywhere, but as things and events start to unfold and occur, you realize you've had all the pieces of the story. You had all the pieces of the puzzle from the very beginning. And little lines and little objects and mentions of things in the beginning of the film snowball into these catastrophic impacts on this family, leading the film to kind of really make its point that in ignorance of these mental anguishes or emotions and feelings that these men in this family go through and experience, an ignorance of those and a avoidance of those feelings and discussing them and getting to the bottom of them really is what breaks this family apart. This film explores masculinity in a way that is so incredibly, again, nuanced, but to use a better term, like in a way that is so devastating to experience how these men's passion ultimately could lead to their downfall perhaps, and a feeling of needing to live up to a role, to act a certain way as these professional wrestlers, or simply to act in the ways that are expected of them in this role of their family. It is truly truly hard to watch at times, but this film, it explores the sensitivity that should be allowed in our understanding of masculinity through the lens of extremely hyper-masculine activities like wrestling, like these fights that these characters get into. And I think that's such that juxtaposition of the emotions of these men and the environment and world in which they live, make their living, perform, kind of that front stage, backstage separation of self that happens in people who perform like this. It's just, I'm not describing it as well as I wish I could, but it's truly, it stuck with me, the way this film is able to explore those things in such a depth through this real life story. I'd be amiss not to go back to my reasons 1 and 2 of why to watch this film. The actors themselves in this film are incredible, but not only is it just Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White, but we also have Harris Dickinson and Stanley Simons as the other 2 Von Erich brothers. I have found out since seeing this film that there actually was a 5th Von Erich brother that had to be cut out of the film completely. And then, of course, you have Holt McElhenney as the patriarch of the Von Erich family. He has such a presence to him, and I think this film does a really great job, assuming you may have seen him in something like a Mindhunter, where he had a strong presence in it, but it doesn't feel too foreboding, and allowing his character and his subtle performance really expand how you interpret this character. I'm really trying to be vague here, but it's not really working anymore. Their performances is what ultimately makes this film as impactful as it is, because like I said, there's no flashy writing, there's no like quippy one-liners, it's not like edited in a way that is meant to make you feel like, whoa, this is like a sports movie. Not at all. The performances are allowed to really breathe here, and Zac Efron's, in my opinion, is the best of the entire film, possibly because of the character he's specifically playing, but I feel like he really embodies it well. And there's a line that he says at the very end of the movie that haunts me to this very day. If you know what that is, please comment it down below. But this movie ultimately is for a fan of actors, people who love to watch great performances, people who enjoy watching a true story unfold on screen, but don't necessarily need to watch something that follows just a singular individual, and specifically for siblings, people who have siblings, who were once a brother or a sister, who love someone in that unconditional way that you love a sibling, no matter where your paths extend in life. And that is going to be it for this slightly depressing review of The Iron Claw. I really hope you all go give this film a chance. It really is a great one, and one that I really hope makes it to the award conversations of next year. But if you enjoyed this, I really hope you'd subscribe, because as we get into award season next year, I'm going to be making plenty of reviews and videos related to that specific content and the films and television shows nominated, so you won't want to miss it. Have a wonderful rest of your day or night whenever you're getting to watch this, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.